Good afternoon, everyone. This is a short video on prisms. We're going to be talking about the formulas for lateral area, surface area, and volume. We're going to use all of yesterday's information and now start applying it to actual 3D objects. So today we're going to start with some real simple things. The first thing we're going to look at are the formulas. We have three formulas. The first formula we're going to look at is lateral area. Lateral area, if you recall from yesterday in class, is basically the sum of all the areas of the sides of the prism. The formula is perimeter of the base times the height of the prism. In letters or variables, it's pH. The surface area of a prism is the sum of all the faces and all the bases. So it is the lateral area from above plus two base areas because a prism has two bases. In variables, it is lateral area plus two capital B's. Volume is our third formula. It is the capacity that a prism has. It is the base area times the height of the prism, or capital B, capital H. We're going to use these three formulas to do the next 5 problems. Our first problem is a square prism. Okay, that means that the base edges are all going to be the same because we are at a square. Okay, so the height of this prism is 35 centimeters if I look at this, and then the base edges are going to be 8. So I'm going to go ahead and label this as capital H, and I'm going to label this bottom one as a base edge, and I'll write that out, a base edge. Okay, and we're going to start with the simple one, which is the lateral area. So LA. Now you may need to have paper out so you can take notes on all these. You may also want your calculator out so you can do the numbers along with me as I work on the calculator. Feel free to pause at any time to go back in the recording and find out information you need. Make sure you keep good notes of everything. Okay, lateral area. The lateral area is the perimeter of the base, so lowercase p, times the height of the prism, so capital H. Okay, so I'm going to go over here and look at my base. My base has 4 sides, and each side is 8. So if I can write this small enough over here, I'm going to say that the perimeter is equal to 4 times 8. 4 times 8 then is 32. So my perimeter is 32. So I'm going to take this back up and put it into the formula. So I have 32 times my height, which is 35. 32 times 35, and I'm going to bust out the calculator to do this one. 32 times 35 is 1,120. Since this is area, it's in centimeters squared. That's the lateral area. That is the sum of all the faces. The surface area, remember, is the faces plus the bases. Faces plus the bases. So I'm going to use my lateral area, and I'm going to add 2 base areas. My lateral area is already above. It's 1,120. Now I'm going to add 2 base areas. Now my bases, remember, are squares. Okay, so I'm going to color in a square just so you can see what I'm talking about here. This is my square base. It's 8 by 8. An 8 by 8 square has an area of 64. So my base area, and I'll do this in purple, my base area is 8 times 8, or 8 squared, which is 64. That's the number I'm going to put up into this formula, is 64. So I have 1,120 plus 2 times 64. 2 times 64 is 128. And so now I have 1,120 plus 128. And that totals out to be 1,248 centimeters squared. And that is my surface area. That's the faces plus the bases. Next up is the volume. Volume, remember, is how much can be contained inside of this prism. Okay, so the volume formula is area of the base times the height of the prism. And we already know our base area. We found that out was 64. The height of our prism was 35. So 64 times 35. And I get 2,240 centimeters cubed this time, because we're looking at 64 square centimeters for a base area times another centimeter, so a centimeter cubed. Okay, and that is our square prism completed. Let's look at example number 2. Remember, at any time, feel free to pause and to go back and look at something again. We're going to find the lateral area, surface area, and volume of this equilateral triangular prism. Now in my picture, if you'll notice, I have 24 for a height on my prism. So I'm going to put a little h here so I remember that's the height of my prism. And the base edges, remember my base is a triangle. So this is my triangle. Oop, I didn't get my color. Let me go back and get the color because I like colors. This is my triangle's base, or my prism's base right here that I'm coloring in. Okay. Alright, so now let's get started. We're going to start with the lateral area. Remember, the formula for the lateral area was the perimeter of the base times the height of the prism. Our perimeter is the distance around this triangular base. Each length is 6, so basically I have 3 times 6, which is 18. So the perimeter of my base is 18. So that's the number that goes in the first P. The height of the prism we already identified as 24. So I have 18 times 24, which is 432 square centimeters for a lateral area. Okay, surface area is our next piece. Remember, surface area is all your lateral area, which is all the faces, plus 2 base areas. So I have my 432, and I'm going to add 2 base areas to that. Keep in mind that our base is an equilateral triangle, and there's a couple of ways you can do that. I'm going to work from the idea that an equilateral triangle has 60-degree angles, and I'm going to go over here and draw in that height. I know the base has been cut to a 3-3 split, and that's a 60-degree angle right there. So I'm looking for my long leg for the height, and so 3 times 3 root 3 is 3 root 3. So the height of that base triangle is 3 root 3. So the base area is a triangle, so 1/2 times 6 times 3 root 3. Half of 6 is 3, and 3 times 3 root 3 is 9 root 3. So my base area is 9 root 3. So that's what's going to go in this parenthesis. So now I have 432 plus 2 times 9, or 18, root 3, and this is in centimeters squared. Okay, volume. Volume, remember, is the area of the base times the height, and we already have both of those measurements. Our base area, if I look back over here, was 9 root 3. Our height is 24 centimeters. So I'm going to take 9 times 24, and I'm going to get 216 square roots of 3, and this is in centimeters cubed because it's volume. Okay, I need to check how much time